In a galaxy far from Earth, humanity was nothing more than a story, a tale told by elders to young aliens during quiet nights. It was a story about a blue planet where intelligent beings once lived. These beings were called humans. They had built great cities, sailed across oceans, and even reached the stars. But then, they disappeared. No one knew why. Some said they destroyed themselves with their wars and greed. Others thought they simply faded away, unable to keep up with stronger species in the universe. Among those who heard these stories was Ethan Cole. He was a young man with short brown hair and glasses that always slid down his nose. When he leaned over books or screens, Ethan worked as a historian aboard an exploration ship named Aurora Dawn. The ship traveled through space, searching for clues about ancient civilizations. Ethan's job was to study old artifacts and records, trying to piece together the history of the universe. But unlike most of his co-workers, Ethan didn't think humans were just a myth. He believed they might still exist somewhere, hidden in some corner of the galaxy. Ethan wasn't alone in his curiosity. His friend Rachel Monroe also shared his interest in finding answers. Rachel was the chief engineer of the Aurora Dawn. She had curly black hair tied back in a ponytail and hands that could fix anything from broken engines to malfunctioning computers. While Ethan spent hours reading dusty archives, Rachel tinkered with machines, making sure the ship stayed in good shape. Together, they made a perfect team. Ethan dreamed big ideas, and Rachel found practical ways to make them happen. One day, while scanning a remote star system, something unusual caught their attention. The sensors picked up faint energy signals coming from a lifeless moon. At first glance, it seemed like nothing special, just another rock floating in space. But when the crew zoomed in, they saw something strange. There were pieces of metal scattered around the moon's orbit. Old satellites, broken rockets, and chunks of what looked like spacecraft drifted aimlessly in the void. "This doesn't look natural," Rachel muttered as she examined the readings on her screen. "Someone put this stuff here?" Ethan nodded. Eagerly, maybe we're looking at the remains of an old civilization. He grabbed his tablet and began recording notes. His heart raced with excitement. Could this be evidence of human activity? The possibility thrilled him. The captain of the Aurora Dawn, Commander Laura Hayes, gave permission for a closer inspection. Laura was a tall woman with sharp features and a no-nonsense attitude. She trusted Ethan and Rachel enough to let them investigate, but she warned them to stay cautious. Space was full of dangers. Not everything old was harmless. As the ship approached the debris field, Ethan strapped himself into a small shuttle along with Rachel and 2 other crew members. Jacob Reed, the pilot, guided the shuttle carefully through the floating wreckage. Mia Carter, a linguist who studied alien languages, came along to analyze any writing or symbols they might find. When they reached the largest piece of debris, Ethan stepped out of the shuttle wearing a bulky spacesuit. Through the visor of his helmet, he saw rusted metal plates and twisted wires. It was clear this object had been abandoned for centuries. But as he moved closer, he noticed something that made his breath catch: a plaque bolted to the side of the wreckage. On it were markings he recognized instantly. Letters from the English alphabet. "Rachel, you need to see this," Ethan called out over the radio. His voice trembled with disbelief. When Rachel joined him, she tilted her head, studying the plaque. "It's definitely human," she said after a moment. "But how is that possible? Humans haven't been seen in thousands of years." Before they could discuss it further, alarms blared inside their helmets. Back on the Aurora Dawn, someone shouted urgently over the comms. "Unknown ships entering the area. Repeat, unknown ships approaching fast." Ethan and Rachel exchanged worried glances. Without wasting time, Jacob fired up the shuttle's engines and sped back toward the Aurora Dawn. As they flew, they saw the newcomers emerge from hyperspace, a fleet of sleek, menacing vessels. Their designs were unlike anything the crew had ever encountered before. Dark holes gleamed under the light of the nearby star, and rows of weapon turrets lined their sides. "Who are they?" Mia asked nervously, gripping her seatbelt. No one answered. Everyone stared at the ships, waiting to see what would happen next. For a few tense moments, There was silence. Then, one of the alien ships fired a warning shot. The blast missed the Aurora Dawn by mere meters, sending shockwaves rippling through space. "We need to get out of here," Laura ordered from the bridge. Her voice was calm but firm. Rachel quickly diverted power to the ship's shields, giving them enough protection to jump into hyperspace. As the Aurora Dawn vanished into the safety of faster-than-light travel, Ethan clutched the plaque tightly in his gloved hand. Whatever those aliens wanted, it couldn't be good. If they were willing to attack without warning, they must have been looking for something or someone. Back aboard the ship, Ethan showed the plaque to Laura. "This changes everything," he said earnestly. "If humans really did exist, maybe they left behind technology or knowledge that could help us fight back." Laura frowned, considering his words. She wanted to believe him, but the risks were too high. Engaging with unknown enemies was dangerous, especially when they had superior firepower. Still, she agreed to report the incident to Haven Prime, the orbital station where the Aurora Dawn was stationed. Perhaps the leaders there could decide what to do next. For now, the crew returned to their duties, though the discovery lingered in everyone's minds. Ethan couldn't stop thinking about the plaque and the aliens. Who were they? Why had they attacked? And most importantly, what connection did they have to humanity? Rachel tried to reassure him. "We'll figure it out, Ethan. We always do." Deep down, she wasn't so sure. Something about the encounter felt wrong, like they had stumbled onto something much bigger than themselves. Whatever it was, it had only just begun. When the Aurora Dawn returned to Haven Prime, the crew was greeted with a mix of curiosity and concern. Haven Prime was a massive orbital station that served as the central hub for exploration missions in the galaxy. It was bustling with activity scientists, analyzing data, engineers repairing ships, and diplomats negotiating trade agreements with alien species. But today, all eyes were on Ethan, Rachel, and their team as they stepped off the shuttle carrying the mysterious plaque. Commander. Laura Hayes wasted no time calling a meeting with the station's leadership council. The council consisted of 5 members, each responsible for different aspects of operations at Haven Prime. There was Dr. Alan Grant, the chief scientist; Captain Sarah Miller, head of security; Engineer Paul Dawson, who oversaw maintenance; Ambassador Lisa Nguyen, in charge of diplomatic relations; and Governor Richard Blake, the overall leader of the station. Ethan stood nervously before them, holding the plaque carefully. He explained how they had found it among the debris orbiting the lifeless moon. "These markings are from the English language," he said, pointing to the letters etched into the metal. "This proves humans existed, and not just as myths. They left behind evidence of their presence." Dr. Grant leaned forward, adjusting his glasses. "Fascinating," he murmured. "But what does this mean for us? If humans once thrived in this part of the galaxy, why did they vanish?" Before Ethan could answer, Captain Miller interrupted. "We have bigger problems right now," she said sharply. "Those alien ships attacked without provocation." "Are they? And why were they so close to our location?" Ambassador Nguyen nodded thoughtfully. "If these aliens are hostile, we need to prepare for another encounter. We can't afford to ignore this threat." Governor Blake tapped his fingers on the table, deep in thought. Finally, he spoke. "We'll investigate further, but cautiously. Commander Hayes, I want your team to return to that star system and gather more information, but this time take reinforcements. And bring back anything else you find, artifacts, data, anything that might help us understand what's going on." Ethan felt a surge of excitement. This was his chance to uncover more about humanity's past, but he also knew the risks. The aliens who attacked them weren't just curious, they were dangerous. Still, he couldn't pass up the opportunity. Rachel agreed to join the mission, along with Jacob Reed and Mia Carter. Together, they formed a small but skilled team. Jacob would pilot the ship, ensuring they could escape if needed. Mia's expertise in alien languages would be invaluable if they encountered any written or spoken communication. And Rachel, as always, would keep the equipment running smoothly as preparations began. Ethan spent hours poring over the plaque, in the scans taken during their first visit to the debris field. He noticed something strange, a pattern in the arrangement of the wreckage. It wasn't random, as he'd initially thought. Instead, it seemed deliberate, almost like a map leading to something important. "Look at this," he told Rachel one evening as they worked in the lab. He pointed to a series of coordinates highlighted on the screen. "The pieces are arranged in a way that points to a specific location. Maybe there's more out there, something hidden nearby." Rachel studied the data, her brow furrowed. "Think someone left clues for us to follow?" "It's possible," Ethan replied. "Whoever created this debris field wanted it to be found. Maybe they hoped someone would come looking." Determined to test his theory, Ethan shared his findings with Commander Hayes. She approved the plan to investigate the coordinates, but reminded them to stay vigilant. "Don't let your curiosity get you killed," she warned. "If those aliens show up again, retreat immediately." The next morning, the team boarded the Aurora Dawn and set course for the designated area. The journey took several hours, during which Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Every flicker on the sensors made him tense. Every shadow outside the window sent his heart racing. But when they arrived, there was no sign of danger, only an empty stretch of space. Jacob guided the ship toward the coordinates, and soon they discovered something incredible. Hidden beneath layers of cosmic dust was a derelict spacecraft. Its design was ancient, its surface pockmarked with age. But what caught their attention was the faint hum of energy emanating from within. "This thing is still alive," Rachel whispered, her voice filled with awe. She ran a diagnostic scan, confirming that parts of the ship's systems were operational. It must have been designed to last. Ethan and Mia suited up and entered the craft through an airlock. Inside, the corridors were dark and eerily silent. Dust covered every surface, and the air smelled stale. But as they explored deeper, they found signs of advanced technology control panels with glowing screens, storage compartments filled with tools and supplies, and even a library of digital records. Mia sat down at one of the consoles and began decoding the files. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she translated the alien script into basic symbols. After a while, she gasped. This is amazing," she said, turning to Ethan. "These records talk about humans. They describe battles fought between humans and another species, the Krylos." "The Krylos," Ethan repeated, his mind racing. "Are they the ones who attacked us?" "Looks that way," Mia confirmed. "According to these logs, the Krylos waged war against humanity thousands of years ago. They believed humans were too dangerous to coexist with, so they tried to wipe them out completely." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. If the Krylos thought humans were extinct, then finding proof of their survival could reignite old hostilities. But before they could process the implications, alarms blared throughout the ship. "They're here," Jacob shouted over the comms. "Multiple ships incoming." Ethan and Mia rushed back to the airlock, their hearts pounding. As they re-entered the Aurora Dawn, they saw the Krylos fleet materializing in the distance. Their sleek black ships loomed menacingly against the stars. "We need to go now," Rachel yelled, already powering up the engines. Jacob maneuvered the ship away from the derelict vessel, but the Krylos weren't letting them escape easily. One of their cruisers fired a barrage of missiles, forcing Jacob to perform evasive maneuvers. Explosions lit up the darkness as the Aurora Dawn zigzagged through space. "Shields are holding for now," Rachel reported, her hands flying over the controls. "But we can't keep this up forever." Watching the chaos unfold, He glanced at Mia, who was frantically trying to save the decoded data onto a portable drive. "Did you get everything?" he asked. "Almost," she replied, sweat beading on her forehead. A few seconds later, she held up the drive triumphantly. "Got it." With the Krylos closing in, Jacob activated the hyperdrive, sending the Aurora Dawn hurtling into the safety of faster-than-light travel. The crew breathed a collective sigh of relief as the enemy ships disappeared behind them. Back at Haven Prime, they delivered the data to the Council. Dr. Grant and his team worked tirelessly to analyze the information, piecing together the history of humanity's conflict with the Krylos. Meanwhile, Captain Miller doubled the station's defenses, preparing for the possibility of another attack. Ethan couldn't stop thinking about what they had uncovered. The Krylos hadn't just attacked them randomly, they were searching for something linked to humanity's past. And now, thanks to the plaque and the derelict ship, the truth was coming to light. Rachel put a hand on his shoulder. "Whatever happens next, we'll face it together," she said reassuringly. Ethan nodded, determination burning in his eyes. Humanity wasn't just a legend anymore. It was reland, its story was far from over. The data recovered from the derelict spacecraft revealed shocking truths. Dr. Alan Grant and his team worked around the clock to decode the information stored on the portable drive Mia had saved. What they found painted a grim picture of humanity's past and its potential future. The record spoke of a time when humans were not just survivors but innovators. They had developed technologies far beyond what anyone in the galaxy currently possessed. Faster-than-light travel, advanced weaponry, and even artificial intelligence capable of independent thought were all part of their achievements. But with great power came great conflict. Humanity's rise drew the attention of other species, including the Krylos. The Krylos were an ancient and ruthless race, known for their aggressive expansion across the stars. When they encountered humans, they saw them as a threat. Humans were resourceful, adaptable, and fiercely protective of their freedom. The Krylos feared that if left unchecked, humanity would grow strong enough to challenge their dominance. So, they declared war. For decades, the two species clashed in brutal battles. The humans fought valiantly, using their ingenuity to hold their ground against overwhelming odds. But the Krylos had numbers on their side, and eventually, humanity began to falter. Cities burned, planets were lost, and entire populations were wiped out. In the end, the humans retreated to Earth, hoping to regroup and rebuild. But the Krylos followed, unleashing a devastating assault that left the planet scarred and lifeless, or so the Krylos believed. The records hinted at something else, a secret plan devised by humanity's leaders before Earth fell. They had hidden their most advanced technology in secure locations scattered across the galaxy, waiting for the day when their descendants or allies might rediscover it. These caches were designed to reactivate only when triggered by specific conditions, ensuring that the knowledge wouldn't fall into enemy hands. Ethan couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You're telling me humanity didn't just vanish?" he said to Dr. Grant during one of their late-night discussions. "They planned ahead. They wanted to make sure their legacy survived." "That's exactly right," Dr. Grant replied, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "And now, thanks to your discovery, we have a chance to uncover those secrets." But there was a catch. The records didn't specify where the caches were located. Only fragments of clues remained, scattered throughout the data. It would take time and careful analysis to piece them together. Meanwhile, tensions aboard Haven Prime were rising. The Krylos hadn't attacked again, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time. Captain Sarah Miller increased patrols and stationed armed vessels near the edges of the station's territory. She also ordered the construction of new defense platforms, equipped with experimental weapons reverse-engineered from the derelict. Ship's technology, Rachel spent long hours in the engineering bay, helping her team upgrade the Aurora Dawn and other ships. She installed enhanced shielding systems and modified the engines for quicker jumps into hyperspace. "If we're going to survive another encounter with the Krylos, we need every advantage we can get," she told Ethan one evening. "Ethan, nodded, though his mind was elsewhere. He couldn't stop thinking about the hidden caches. If they could find even one, it might give them the edge they needed to stand against the Krylos. But how? Mia Carter joined him in the lab later that night, carrying a stack of decoded files. "I've been going through these logs again," she said, setting the papers down on the table. "There's something here we missed before, a reference to an AI core. It mentions Solace by name." Solace. Ethan frowned. "What is that?" "It seems to be some kind of artificial intelligence created by humans," Mia explained. "According to the logs, Solace was designed to guide whoever found the caches. It acted as both a historian and a strategist, preserving human knowledge and offering advice on how to use it." Ethan's heart raced. "Do you think Solace is still active? Could it be somewhere in that debris field?" "It's possible," Mia admitted. "If the humans built it to last, Solace could have survived all this time. We should go back and look." The idea made Ethan nervous. Returning to the debris field meant risking another confrontation with the Krylos. But the potential. Rewards outweighed the danger. With Solace's help, he might finally understand the full scope of humanity's plan and how to execute it. Commander Hayes reluctantly agreed to send the Aurora Dawn back to the site, this time with additional support. 2 escort ships accompanied them, ready to provide backup in case of trouble. Jacob piloted the Aurora Dawn with steady hands, while Rachel monitored the sensors for any sign of the Krylos. When they arrived, the debris field looked unchanged. Pieces of metal floated silently in the void, bathed in the dim light of a distant star. Ethan and Mia suited up and ventured outside, searching for anything resembling an AI core. Hours passed without success, and frustration began to set in. Then, Rachel spotted something unusual, a faint energy signature coming from deep within the wreckage. "It's weak, but it's there," she said over the comms. "Could that be it?" Ethan and Mia followed the signal, navigating carefully through the jagged remains of ancient spacecraft. Finally, they reached the source, a small, cube-shaped device embedded in the hull of a broken satellite. Its surface was cracked and scorched, but a soft blue glow pulsed inside. "This has to be it," Ethan whispered, reaching out to touch the device. As soon as his gloved hand made contact, the glow brightened, and a voice spoke in his helmet. "Greetings, Seeker," it said calmly. "I am Solace. I have awaited your arrival." Ethan froze, stunned by the sound of the voice. It was warm and reassuring, yet carried an air of authority. Who are you?" he stammered. "I am the keeper of humanity's legacy," Solace replied. "Created to preserve knowledge and guide those who seek to reclaim it. You have awakened me. At a critical time, the Krylos are near, and their presence threatens all that remains of my creators." Before Ethan could respond, alarms blared inside his helmet. "Enemy ships detected," Odessa Jacob shouted over the comms. "Get back to the shuttle now." And Mia hurriedly detached the AI core and raced back to the shuttle. By the time they climbed aboard, the Krylos fleet had already surrounded them. Laser fire streaked through space, forcing Jacob to perform evasive maneuvers. Rachel worked frantically to reinforce the shields, buying them precious seconds to escape. As the Aurora Dawn jumped into hyperspace, Ethan held the AI core tightly. Despite the chaos, he felt a spark of hope. Solace was real, and it held the key to humanity's survival. Now, all they had to do was figure out how to use it. Back at Haven Prime, the crew gathered in the lab to examine the AI core. Dr. Grant connected it to a secure terminal, allowing Solace to interface with the station's systems. The AI quickly uploaded itself, spreading its consciousness across the network. "I am operational," Celeste announced, its voice resonating through the speakers. "My primary directive is to assist you in restoring humanity's place among the stars. Together, we will ensure that the mistakes of the past are not repeated." Ethan stared at the screen, amazed by the calm intelligence radiating from Solace. For the first time since discovering the plaque, he felt like they truly had a chance. But he also knew the road ahead would be difficult. The Krylos weren't going to let them succeed easily. Rachel placed a hand on his shoulder. "Nice. We've got this," she said firmly. "With Solace on our side, we can turn the tide." Ethan nodded, determination burning in his eyes. Humanity wasn't just a legend anymore. It was alive, waiting to rise once more. And with Solace guiding them, they were ready to fight for their place in the galaxy. With Solace now integrated into Haven Prime's systems, the station buzzed with newfound energy. The AI worked tirelessly, analyzing the data recovered from the derelict spacecraft and piecing together fragments of humanity's past. It revealed more details about the hidden caches locations scattered across the galaxy, where humans had stored their most advanced technology. These caches were designed to reactivate only when triggered by specific signals, ensuring they wouldn't fall into enemy hands. Solace also began sharing memories of its creators. Through holographic projections, the crew witnessed glimpses of Earth before the war. They saw sprawling cities filled with towering skyscrapers, bustling streets alive with people, and vast oceans reflecting sunlight like mirrors. But they also saw the destruction, the fires, the crumbling buildings, and the battles that turned the planet into a wasteland. Despite the devastation, humanity's resilience shone through in every image. Ethan spent hours listening to Solace's stories, his mind racing with possibilities. "If we can find even one of these caches," he said during a meeting with Commander Hayes and the Leadership Council, "it could give us the tools we need to fight back against the Krylos." Commander Hayes nodded thoughtfully. "But finding them won't be easy. The Krylos are still out there watching us. If they realize what we're doing, they'll do everything in their power to stop us." "We have an advantage now," Rachel interjected. "Solace knows where some of the caches are located, or at least how to locate them. With its help, we can plan our missions carefully." Governor Blake agreed to authorize a series of expeditions to retrieve the caches. However, he insisted on sending small teams to minimize the risk of detection. "We can't afford to lose another ship," he warned. "Pick your crew wisely." Ethan, Rachel, Jacob, and Mia volunteered immediately. Together, they formed a tight-knit team, each member bringing unique skills to the mission. Ethan provided historical insight, Rachel handled engineering challenges. Jacob piloted the ships, and Mia decoded alien languages and symbols. Sliss accompanied them virtually, guiding their actions through secure comms. The first target was a cache located on a remote asteroid deep in uncharted space. According to Solace, it contained weapons and defensive systems capable of countering Krylos technology. The journey took several days, during which the crew prepared for the worst. They practiced combat drills, reviewed escape routes, and double-checked every piece of equipment. When they arrived, the asteroid looked barren and lifeless, a jagged rock drifting silently in the void. But as they approached, sensors detected faint energy readings emanating from beneath its surface. Using the Aurora Dawn S scanners, they pinpointed the entrance to the cache, a hidden hatch concealed under layers of dust and debris. Jacob landed the ship nearby, and the team suited up for exploration. As they stepped onto the asteroid's surface, Ethan felt a strange mix of excitement and dread. "This is it," he murmured, glancing at the others. "We're about to see what humanity left behind." Rachel led the way, using her tools to pry open the hatch. Inside, they found a narrow corridor lit by dim emergency lights. The air smelled stale, and the walls were lined with metal panels etched with human symbols. Solace's voice echoed in their helmets, providing guidance. "Proceed cautiously," it advised. "Security protocols may still be active." Sure enough, as they moved deeper into the facility, they encountered automated defenses turrets mounted on the ceiling and floor, programmed to attack intruders. Mia quickly identified the control panel and disabled the system, allowing them to continue safely. At the heart of the cache lay a vault protected by a biometric lock. "Only humans can open this," Solace explained. "Place your hand on the scanner." Ethan hesitated, then pressed his palm against the panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the lock clicked open, revealing rows of sleek, futuristic weapons and devices. There were handheld blasters, shield generators, and even drones capable of repairing damaged ships. Rachel's eyes widened as she examined the equipment. "This stuff is incredible," she breathed. "It's like nothing we've ever seen." While the team loaded the supplies onto the Aurora Dawn, Celeste uploaded itself into the cache's mainframe, searching for additional information. It discovered coordinates leading to another cache, this one hidden on Earth itself. Earth, Ethan repeated, stunned. I thought it was uninhabitable. It is, Solace confirmed. But the humans who built this network knew the planet would remain untouched by scavengers. They chose it as a final sanctuary for their greatest achievements. The revelation sparked both hope and fear. Returning to Earth meant venturing into Krylos territory, where patrols were frequent and unforgiving. But the potential rewards made the risk worthwhile. With Solace's guidance, the team plotted a course, planning to slip past enemy lines under the cover of hyperspace. Back at Haven Prime, the retrieved weapons and technology were distributed among the fleet. Engineers worked around the clock to integrate the new gear into existing ships, while soldiers trained to use the unfamiliar equipment. Captain Miller coordinated defense strategies, preparing for the inevitable clash with the Krylos. Meanwhile, Ethan and Rachel pored over maps of Earth, studying the terrain and identifying safe landing zones. The planet's surface was scarred and barren, its skies choked with ash and toxic clouds. Surviving there would be difficult. But Solace assured them the underground facilities were intact and fully operational. As preparations continued, tensions aboard Haven Prime grew. Rumors spread about the impending mission, fueling both excitement and anxiety. Some believed reclaiming Earth was humanity's destiny, while others feared it was a suicide mission. Governor Blake called a meeting to address the concerns. We are taking a great risk, he admitted, addressing the assembled crew. But standing idly by is not an option. Krylos will not leave us alone. If we want to survive and thrive, we must take the fight to them. Earth holds the key to our future. We cannot turn away now. His words inspired determination among the crew. Even those who doubted the mission resolved to give it their all. Ethan felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing they were fighting, not just for themselves, but for the legacy of humanity. Finally, the day of departure arrived. The Aurora Dawn and 2 escort ships set out for Earth, carrying the hopes of Haven Prime with them. As they entered hyperspace, Ethan stared out the window, imagining what awaited them on the blue planet below. It was a place of tragedy and triumph, despair and hope. And soon, it would once again become the cradle of humanity's rebirth. Whatever happens next, Rachel said softly, breaking the silence. We'll face it together. Ethan nodded, gripping the edge of his seat. The journey ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity wasn't just a legend anymore. It was alive, ready to rise from the ashes and claim its place among the stars. The journey to Earth was tense and quiet. The crew of the Aurora Dawn knew they were heading into dangerous territory. The Krylos controlled much of the space surrounding the planet, and slipping past their patrols undetected would be no easy feat. Jacob piloted the ship with precision, weaving through asteroid fields and dense clouds of cosmic debris to avoid detection. Rachel monitored the sensors closely, her eyes scanning for any sign of enemy activity. Ethan sat in the observation deck, staring out at the stars as they streaked by in hyperspace. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. He imagined what Earth would look like now, scarred and lifeless, yet still holding the remnants of humanity's greatest achievements. Solace had assured them that the underground facilities were intact, but Ethan couldn't shake the feeling of unease. What if the Krylos had already found it? What if the cache was booby-trapped or damaged beyond repair? Mia joined him after a while, carrying 2 cups of warm tea. She handed one to Ethan and sat down beside him. You seem lost in thought, she said gently. I'm just thinking about Earth, Ethan replied, taking a sip of the tea. It's strange to imagine that we're going back there after all this time. It's like stepping into a ghost story. Mia nodded. I know what you mean, but remember, we're not just looking for ruins. We're searching for something that can help us fight back. Something that might save us all. Her words brought a small measure of comfort. Ethan forced a smile. You're right. We've come too far to turn back now. When they emerged from hyperspace near Earth, the sight was both inspiring and heartbreaking. The planet hung in the void, its once blue surface now cloaked in gray ash and swirling storms. Thick clouds of dust obscured the sun, casting an eerie gloom over the landscape. Rivers and oceans were frozen, their surfaces cracked and barren. It was a graveyard of a world, silent and desolate. Jacob guided the Aurora Dawn into a low orbit, careful to stay hidden behind the planet's natural satellite. The escort ships followed closely, ready to provide cover if needed. Solace analyzed the terrain below, pinpointing the location of the underground facility. The entrance is concealed beneath a mountain range, it informed them. You will need to land nearby and approach on foot. Rachel double-checked the equipment before they disembarked. Each member of the team carried a backpack filled with supplies, tools, and weapons retrieved from the first cache. They also wore advanced suits designed to protect them from Earth's toxic atmosphere. As they stepped onto the surface, the weight of the moment settled heavily on their shoulders. The ground was cold and brittle underfoot, littered with fragments of rock and metal. A thick haze hung in the air, making visibility poor. Jacob led the way, using a handheld scanner to navigate toward the coordinates provided by Solace. The others followed closely, their footsteps crunching softly against the barren soil. After hours of walking, they reached the base of the mountain. Hidden within its shadow was a massive steel door, partially buried beneath layers of dirt and debris. Rachel used her tools to clear away the rubble, revealing a keypad etched with human symbols. "This must be it," she said, brushing dust. Off the panel, Ethan stepped forward and placed his hand on the scanner. Like before, the system hesitated for a moment before unlocking with a loud hiss. The door slid open, revealing a dark tunnel leading downward. Inside, the air was stale, but breathable, thanks to ancient filtration systems still functioning after centuries of disuse. As they descended deeper into the facility, lights flickered to life along the walls, illuminating corridors lined with storage crates and machinery. Solace's voice echoed through their helmets, guiding them toward the central chamber. "This facility contains humanity's most advanced technology," it explained. "Warships, terraforming devices, and artificial intelligence cores capable of coordinating large-scale operations." When they reached the heart of the complex, they found themselves standing in a vast hangar bay. Rows of sleek, dormant warships stretched out before them, their hulls gleaming despite years of neglect. In the center of the room stood a towering console, glowing faintly with blue light. "This is the command center," Solace announced. "Activate it, and the entire facility will come online." Ethereal moved cautiously toward the console, his fingers trembling as he touched the controls. The screen lit up, displaying lines of text scrolling rapidly across the display. Moments later, the hum of machinery filled the air as systems powered up around them. Lights brightened, engines roared to life, and the warships began preparing. "For launch? It's working," Rachel said, her voice filled with wonder. "We did it," but their victory was short-lived. Alarms blared suddenly, and red warning lights flashed throughout the facility. "Intruders detected," Solace warned. "Krylo's forces have breached the perimeter. How did they find us?" Mia asked, panic creeping into her voice. "They must have tracked our hyperspace signature," Jacob replied grimly. "We don't have much time." Ethan turned to Solace. "Can you upload yourself into the flagship? You'll need to guide us during the battle." "Already done," Solace responded. "I am now integrated into the primary warship, designated Phoenix. Prepare for departure." The team split up, each member rushing to complete their tasks. Rachel and Jacob boarded the Phoenix, running final checks on its systems. Mia helped load supplies onto smaller support vessels, while Ethan coordinated with Solace to ensure everything was ready for launch. As the Krylos forces closed in, the hangar doors opened, revealing the desolate landscape outside. The Phoenix rose majestically into the sky, flanked by smaller ships carrying the rest of the team. Behind them, the facility's automated defenses engaged the enemy. Buying precious seconds for the fleet to escape, once in orbit, Ethan took his place aboard the Phoenix, watching as Solace displayed tactical data on the main screen. The Krylos fleet loomed ominously in the distance, their ships forming a blockade around Earth. "They're trying to trap us," Jacob said, gripping the controls tightly. "Not if we break through first," Ethan replied, determination burning. In his eyes, solace, "Give us everything you've got." The AI responded instantly, activating the Phoenix's advanced weaponry and shielding systems. With a burst of speed, the flagship surged forward, cutting through the Krylos lines like a blade. Laser fire erupted in every direction as the battle began in earnest. Rachel worked furiously at her station, rerouting power to damaged sections of the ship and keeping the shields stable. "We can't keep this up forever," she shouted over the noise. "We don't have to," Ethan said firmly. "Just hold on a little longer." Under Solace's guidance, the Phoenix unleashed a devastating barrage of missiles, targeting key points in the enemy formation. One by one, Krylos cruisers exploded, their wreckage drifting silently in the void. The tide of the battle began to shift as the smaller support ships joined the fray. Picking off stragglers and reinforcing the flagship, finally, the Krylos commander broadcast a message across all frequencies. "Cease your attack or face annihilation." The voice growled, distorted by static. Ethan hesitated for a moment, then activated the comms. "You thought humans were extinct," he said, his voice steady. "But we're still here, and we're not going anywhere." There was a long pause before the Krylos responded. "You dare challenge us?" "Yes," Ethan replied. "And next time, we won't stop until you do." The Krylos fleet retreated, disappearing into hyperspace. For now, the battle was won. But Ethan knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had reclaimed its legacy. But the fight to secure its future was far from over. As the Phoenix and its escorts returned to Haven Prime, crews celebrated their hard-fought victory. But Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that the Krylos would return, and when they did, humanity would need to be ready. The victory at Earth was a turning point, but it wasn't the end. The crew of the Phoenix and their allies returned to Haven Prime as heroes, their success rekindling hope among the station's inhabitants. News of humanity's resurgence spread, quickly inspiring others to join the cause. Engineers worked tirelessly to repair and upgrade the fleet, while scientists studied the advanced technology recovered from Earth. For the first time in centuries, humanity had a fighting chance against the Krylos. Ethan stood on the observation deck of Haven Prime, gazing out at the stars. He felt a mix of pride and unease. They had proven that humans were more than legends, they were survivors. But the battle at Earth had shown just how dangerous the Krylos truly were. Their retreat was temporary, a strategic withdrawal rather than a surrender. Ethan knew they would return, stronger and more determined than ever. Rachel joined him, leaning against the railing beside him. "You're thinking about what comes next," she said softly. "Yeah," Ethan admitted. "We won one fight, but this war is far from over. The Krylos aren't going to let us rebuild without a fight." Rachel nodded. "We've got Solace now, though, and Earth's technology. We're not defenseless anymore." "That's true," Ethan replied, "but we need to be ready for anything. If the Krylos come back, we can't afford to lose." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the station. Red warning lights flashed, and voices crackled over the intercom. Incoming ships detected. Multiple vessels approaching fast. Ethan and Rachel rushed to the command center, where Commander Hayes and Governor Blake were already coordinating a response. Scans revealed a massive Krylos fleet heading straight for Haven Prime. This time, they weren't holding back. Dozens of cruisers and destroyers filled the void, their weapons primed for attack. "We can't hold them off here," Captain Miller said grimly. "They outnumber us 10-1. Governor Blake clenched his fists, his face pale with tension. "Then we make our stand elsewhere. Everyone aboard the ship's wheel, meet them headin'." The evacuation began immediately. Crews scrambled to load supplies onto the fleet, while civilians were ushered into underground bunkers. Within minutes, the entire station was mobilized. The Phoenix, now fully repaired and upgraded, led the charge, flanked by smaller support vessels. Solace's calm voice echoed through the comms, providing tactical updates and guidance. As the fleet emerged from Haven Prime's defenses, the Krylos opened fire. Bright bursts of energy lit up the darkness as missiles streaked toward the human. Ships. Jacob maneuvered the Phoenix with precision, dodging enemy attacks while returning fire. The ship's advanced weaponry tore through the Krylos lines, creating gaps in their formation. Focus on their command ship, Solace instructed. If we take out their leader, the rest will falter. Ethan relayed the order to the fleet. Pilots broke off into smaller squads, targeting key points in the enemy formation. Mia coordinated communications between ships, ensuring everyone stayed informed and synchronized. Meanwhile, Rachel monitored the Phoenix's systems rerouting. Power to damaged sections and keeping the shield stable. The battle raged for hours, each side taking heavy losses. Explosions lit up the void as ships on both sides were destroyed. Despite the odds, the human fleet held its ground, thanks in large part to Solace's tactical genius. The AI analyzed enemy movements in real time, predicting their strategies, and countering them before they could execute. Finally, the Phoenix reached the Krylos command ship. It was a monstrous vessel, bristling with turrets and surrounded by escorts. Ethan clenched his fists as he watched the screen. "This is it," he said. "If we can take this down, we win." Jacob pushed the engines to their limit, weaving. Through enemy fire, as they closed the distance, Rachel armed the Phoenix's main cannon, a devastating weapon capable of piercing even the thickest armor. "Ready when you are," she called out. "Fire." Ethan shouted. A brilliant beam of energy shot from the Phoenix, striking the command ship dead center. The impact caused a chain reaction, igniting explosions that tore through the vessel. Within moments, it was engulfed in flames, drifting lifelessly in space. The loss of their flagship sent shockwaves through the Krylos fleet. Ships began retreating, breaking formation, and fleeing into hyperspace. Cheers erupted aboard the human ships as the tide of the battle turned decisively in their favor. Back at Haven Prime, the crew celebrated their hard-fought victory. Damaged ships limped home, their crews exhausted but triumphant. Addressed the survivors, his voice filled with gratitude. "Today, we prove that humanity is not just a memory, it's a force to be reckoned with. Together, we faced an enemy who thought we were extinct, and together, we showed them that we endure." Ethan stood quietly during the celebration, watching, as people laughed and embraced. Rachel approached him, her face glowing with pride. "You did it," she said. "You brought us back." "I didn't do it alone," Ethan replied. "None of this would have been possible without all of you, without Solace." Speaking of which, the AI chimed in. "Your resilience has restored hope to humanity," Solace said. "But remember, this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast, and there are still many challenges ahead." Ethan nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity had reclaimed its place among the stars, but their journey was far from over. With Earth's technology, Solace's guidance, and the courage of those who refused to give up, they were ready to face whatever came next. In the days that followed, work began on rebuilding Haven Prime and expanding humanity's reach. New colonies were established on nearby planets. Using terraforming devices recovered from Earth, diplomatic efforts resumed, forging alliances with other species, wary of the Krylos. Slowly but surely, humanity stepped back onto the galactic stage not as victims, but as survivors. For Ethan, Rachel, Jacob, and Mia, the adventure was just beginning. They had uncovered the truth about humanity's past and played a crucial role in shaping its future. As they prepared for their next mission, Ethan couldn't help but smile. The stars seemed brighter now, full of possibilities, and so humanity moved forward, carrying the lessons of its past into a new era. Legends no longer, they stood tall, ready to carve out a destiny among the stars. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together with courage, determination, and the unshakable belief that humanity's story was far from finished.